Alright, hello. Today I wanted to talk about why I think calisthenics is very underrated for general strength and building muscle. Excuse me if my voice sounds a little bit nasally, I'm kind of under the weather. So let's get started. What is calisthenics? Calisthenics is a general term for movements where you're applying force on a surface such as the floor, a bar, or even the rings in order to move your body through space instead of applying force to an object, like a kettlebell, dumbbell, or barbell, in order to move the object. So they are very versatile. You can even just train with your body weight if you are patient and you apply the right techniques in order to make the movements a little bit harder as time goes on. They can be regressed or made harder depending on the intensity that you're looking for or how advanced you are in the gym. And when most people think about calisthenics, they think about push-ups, pull-ups, dips, inverted rows, if you're kind of familiar with calisthenics maybe. And those are definitely the most common and well-known exercises, but most people don't realize that you can actually go a lot further and do even isolation movements with calisthenics. So comparing calisthenics and weights, calisthenics have intrinsic properties that make them amazing for building muscle. First of all, they emphasize the weighted stretch more than anything you can do with free weights, really, unless you're using some specialized machine. And even then, I would say calisthenics is superior for reasons I'll get into. Essentially, you're moving your body, so it's a useful skill instead of just being locked in a machine and moving your arms and legs. So for most calisthenic exercises, the hardest portion of the movement is usually the bottom where you have the deepest stretch on your muscles. So for push-ups, that would be when your pegs are most stretched. So when you're close to the bottom of the movement, you're also most horizontal relative to the floor. So the tension on your muscles is actually the highest at that position. That would also be true for tricep extension, so an isolation movement, where you would be at the bottom of the movement, so the most stretched position for your tricep is also where you're the most horizontal to the floor, and therefore placing the most stress on your triceps at that position. Why that's good? We know through science that the weighted stretch is probably the position or the condition where the hypertrophic response of the muscles is the highest. So the more you stretch the muscle under load, the more damage you can do, which then can be repaired in order to build your muscles back stronger. And something that's relevant to that topic, bodyweight curls are so underrated in my opinion because there is no other free weight movement that you can perform where the tension is highest on your bicep at the most stretched position. So for me, arms have always been a weak point, and I've always had problems with growing my arms, feeling my arms during curls, until I started doing curls using my rings. And there's a lot of variations of ring curls, the regular ring curl, the reverse ring curl, pelican curls. And just like the push-up and the tricep extension, they offer you a resistance curve that is biasing the stretched position of the movement. So at full arm extension, you are also most horizontal to the floor, therefore putting the most tension on your bicep. And like if you ever perform a ring curl, you will notice the difference. Like the tension you feel on your bicep in a good way is the best you'll feel compared to any curl variation there is. That being said, you should be careful if you're just starting to do ring curls. Putting the most tension on your bicep at the stretched position might not be a good idea if you're not strong enough for that yet. Moreover, why calisthenics is perfect for general strength muscle building is they are naturally safer to perform intensity techniques with. So anything like drop sets, my reps, or force negatives, calisthenics just allows you to do that much safer than any free weight exercise with a barbell or dumbbells or even machines for that matter, because they're so much more convenient to adjust the weight on. For example, you can do weighted pull-ups, and once you can't get any more reps of the weighted pull-up, drop the weight belt and start doing pull-ups with your own body weight and prolonging that set more time under tension. At the same time, you can rest for a moment and then do more reps. I use that technique when I'm doing inverted rows especially. You can just sit on the ground for a second and then bust out 3 or 4 more reps and do that until you can't even get one more rep. That will be probably the most intense set of rows that you'll do. And you can also reset your body position in calisthenics in order to do force negatives. I use that technique with curls and tricep extensions. Since the movement biases the most stretched position, so you'd have the most tension when your muscle is the most stretched. You might not be able to initiate reps after a certain point, but that's not really an issue because you just have to take a step and push your body up, and you can keep doing more negatives for the curls and tricep extensions. Something worth mentioning also is if you've never trained with the rings, I 100% recommend you give it a shot because the instability of the rings recruits so many more muscle fibers than free weight movements. And that means you can get more out of less weight, less risk of injury if you're smart with it, intense pumps, so all the good stuff. The scapular freedom that you also get with calisthenic movements is, especially for the pressing movements such as the push-ups and the dips, it's unmatched when you compare it to something like a bench press or a machine press, because being able to move your scapula allows you to recruit the serratus muscles especially, but also just get a little bit more range of motion for you to be able to squeeze your pecs even harder. And the scapular movement is also very good for keeping your shoulders healthy and mobile. If you've ever went through a phase where you did a lot of bench press, like multiple times a week, you'll notice that it just completely screws up your shoulder mobility. And you will not have that with ring push-ups or dips, I promise. So if you're scared of trying calisthenic movements as primary exercises in your program, I highly recommend that you try to break free of the gym bro dogma. Push-ups, pull-ups, dips, they're just as effective, if not more, than free weight movements with barbells and dumbbells. You'll get more out of less weight. You'll be better at moving your body through space instead of being locked in place and moving a heavy object. Keep in mind that weight is not synonymous with intensity, so you can get very strong with calisthenics. Calisthenics will be useful for developing your relative strength. Rings especially, I think they will build a type of strength that is hard to develop with free weights. So if you've ever heard about the phenomena where people that train with kettlebells find that they're stronger at almost all other movements once they get stronger with kettlebells, I believe the same applies with rings because the instability just develops a type of strength that is unmatched with free weights. You have to keep the ring so stable that develops all the small stabilizer muscles around the target muscles. And if you go from a ring push-up, if you get very strong at ring push-ups and ring dips, and you go back to a bench press, assuming that you haven't completely forgotten how to do a bench press, you'll most likely be a lot stronger than you imagine. And I find it hard to speak negatively about calisthenics. However, I think it's worth mentioning you should not become obsessive with calisthenics. I find myself doing this all the time. I enjoy training calisthenics and especially rings a lot, so sometimes I have this inclination to remove all free weight movements from my program, just focus solely on the rings. But calisthenics is a tool, so it's not a religion. You don't have to just do calisthenics to get good at calisthenics, or rather you shouldn't even do calisthenics if your goals are to build muscle and gain general strength, because there's a whole world of exercises out there that you should keep in rotation and explore in order to get the most out of your training. Pick the exercises that feel good for you. So if you like doing push-ups and you don't like doing dips for some reason, You don't really have to do dips, like no one cares except for you. Focus on push-ups, get strong at push-ups, and you'll find that it helps you develop your muscles very effectively. Don't be ashamed of doing the basic exercises. If you are still getting a lot of mileage out of the push-up, you don't have to switch it for a harder variation. Just keep adding weight and changing up the tempo to meet your goals. Be honest with yourself about progression. If you want to switch to a harder variation, make sure you completely master the progression before that, and make sure you're only adding weight to exercises where you have to add weight to the exercise to make it effective. Be honest about your goals in calisthenics. If you don't want to be a calisthenics athlete, you don't have to practice the skill movements such as the muscle up or the planche. You can just focus on the basics like push-ups, pull-ups, dips, inverted rows. I highly suggest you try isolation exercises using the rings, ring curls and ring tricep extensions. Don't be distracted by the skill movements like muscle ups. They're not going to do much for developing general strength and building muscle. You'll just get very good at doing muscle ups if you focus on that. And that's coming from me. I love muscle ups. And I think that's about all I want to say for calisthenics for now. I do believe my next video might be about how to use rings properly for building muscle and developing general strength. So be on the lookout for that. If you have any questions or pointers you want to give me in the comments, make sure to comment. Yeah, thank you for watching this video. See you next time.